bold predictions for the Chicago Bears this coming season. Now, this could be a really weird season, so don't be surprised if none of these happen, and don't be surprised if all of these happen. It's really, the Bears right now are already in such a weird position that we can't really project where they're going to play at or how they're going to play. But also, because of the NFL and the COVID situation, we're also at a really weird position with that. So, Reece, why don't you go ahead and start off with your first bold prediction? I believe we both have 3 of them.
Yeah. So my first one was that, and it's not super bold because he's almost hit this mark before, but I believe that Roquan Smith will be the leading tackler on the team, and he'll eclipse 130 tackles, which I believe his previous career high was 122 in his rookie season, I do believe. I think I've commented on this before with Danny Trevathan has really kind of not exactly taken away Roquan Smith's shine, but has kind of made it so Roquan Smith hasn't had to do so much, right? Like, if without Danny Trevathan, Roquan Smith could easily hit this mark, every single year and easily be the Bears' leading tackler. But I think we're going to see Roquan Smith take a very large step forward. And I think even with Trevathan still being there, I think he's going to, even eclipse him, and he's going to have a really solid season, tackling, would-be ball carriers and all that. And I'm not saying that he'll get a bunch of sacks, but I expect him to be pretty dynamic, too. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up snagging a pick or two and maybe even scoring a touchdown for himself.
Roquan Smith is one of the Bears' most promising players and someone who I'm really just waiting for when he becomes an All-Pro, not if he becomes an All-Pro. He's gonna have a fantastic career, and I'm just really excited to see him actually actualize that. Obviously, playing a less flashy position at inside linebacker and playing next to a really high-quality inside linebacker with Danny Trevathan, he's not going to get all the numbers that you might see someone like, Darius Leonard got in his first season. And some people made statements that Darius Leonard should have been picked by the Bears, which was, pretty hilarious. I'd way rather have Roquan Smith as far as a talent perspective. He's so far beyond Darius Leonard. So as far as Roquan Smith, I'm waiting for an All-Pro season for him, and this could absolutely be that season. As far as my first bold prediction, I had David Montgomery. I say that he hits 2K all-purpose yards. So as far as rushing and receiving, he's going to get 2,000 yards total. I think he had like 1,300 his rookie year, maybe 1,400, maybe even a little bit more. But he had a pretty decent rookie season when you look at it. And I think that he's going to do it with probably about the same amount of carries he got this year.
I think with Montgomery, it was tough at times watching him last season because sometimes there are literally no holes for him to run through. And, I feel like that really knocked down his average quite a bit. And then there are some games where, for like the Cowboys game, for instance, he did really good against the Chargers as well. So there were some real big bright spots. And, I'm expecting him to take a big step forward. And that's why for one of my next bold prediction, I'll just get into it now, was that he'll, rush for, 1,200 rushing yards, which, I think is basically on par with your all-purpose, if he got about like 1,200 rushing yards, maybe he gets like 1,300 rushing yards, 700 receiving, would be a very, very solid season for him. Would be a big improvement. And of course, that's, I think that's expecting more from the offensive line and also more from Montgomery. I think they pretty much go hand in hand. But I really hope that that's kind of more of a testament to Nagy sticking with the run and kind of, adding in more balance into this offense. I think there's a lot of factors that need to go into play here for Montgomery to really, take that step forward that me and you, or that you and I are both, anticipating here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm expecting, and I hope the offensive line can help take some pressure off of him. And I hope that Nick Foles or Mitchell Trubisky, whichever becomes the starting quarterback, can have good enough play that can help him actually, make his hard work and returns feasible. As far as my second bold prediction, I had Cole Kmet hit 700 yards, which, it doesn't sound like that flashy of a number. If a tight end gets 700 yards, it's not a huge deal, but for a rookie tight end, that'd be pretty damn good. And for the position that we have, that would be great. I think that we are going to see Cole Kmet have, my prediction for him in the beginning was about 350 yards. Maybe he reaches 400 as a rookie, but with this Bears offense, if things actually start to get rolling and Cole Kmet plays the way that we think he can play, Cole Kmet could absolutely finish the season with 700 yards if things break his way.
Yeah, I mean, I would be ecstatic if Cole Kmet, who's kind of he's a multi-dimensional tight end. He can block, he can receive. He's kind of the balanced tight end that a lot of teams want, but have kind of faded away in today's NFL. I'd be ecstatic if he got over 500 yards. That being said, I don't think 700 yards is truly out of his range. Like you said, if the Bears, offense has always been set up for tight ends to be a huge part of the offense, but it's just never really turned out well because, I think part of it's a little bit to do with Nagy's play calling, but mostly it's just been because they haven't had steady play from tight ends. A lot of injury issues. We got into this about, when we were talking about Shaheen earlier. So now that hopefully with Kmet, we have a much steadier, much more consistent tight end who, has a lot of talent. Hopefully he can be utilized a lot more in this offense, which can probably only do dividends for everything else on the field. If this Bears team can really utilize its positional players, a lot better than they have over the past couple of years, then we're going to see a large spike up in offense production.
Absolutely.
So my final bold prediction, it was inspired by this Jamal Adams news, and we talked about how Eddie Jackson and Jamal Adams have different skill sets. That being said, I think in comparison, we're really going to see the value of Eddie Jackson shine through this year. I know that he had a bit of a down year last year, but still, with that being said, did not have an awful stat line. I think we're going to see the true value of Eddie Jackson this year and how he is honestly superior to, a lot of these players that he's compared to, like Jamal Adams. I expect with how much better the secondary is going to be with this pressure that I think this Bears front seven is going to be able to put on the quarterback. I think Eddie Jackson could be in for a monster year. I mean, a year that I'm not going to say record-breaking, but definitely one that's going to get a lot of people's attention. And it's probably going to end up in him being rewarded a big contract when that's coming up, fairly soon. So, yeah, I'm expecting big things from Eddie Jackson in this coming season.
Well, I hate to break it to you, Reece, but Eddie Jackson already had an extension.
Oh, he did?
Wow. I can reassure you that he will not be getting another extension. Maybe you should read up more before you come on the podcast, bro.
I'm obviously
I'm just
not
kidding.
qualified for this podcast, so I will be resigning after this episode.
It can be extremely hard to just keep track of all the players and their current contract status. But yeah, the Bears kind of shelled out an early contract for him. He's going to be paid the highest. I think he's the highest paid safety contract currently, but or going to be going on to that. But I can absolutely see Eddie Jackson having his biggest year, especially with the addition of Travis Gipson. Wait, no, not Travis Gipson. Excuse me. That's the guy who we drafted, Trashaun Gipson, at strong safety. I think that he's going to be a great pairing for him and really an underrated signing for us, especially for the contract value we got him at. This Bears defense is going to be extremely good. I mean, trading out Jaylon Johnson for Prince Amukamara, for Trashaun Gipson, and then adding, obviously, Robert Quinn for Leonard Floyd. This defense is the best defense as far as on paper that we've had in probably an extremely long time. Better than the 2018 defense for sure on paper. Especially it has more depth as well. So if everyone stays healthy, this defense is going to be top of the line, number one defense. It's obviously I believe, truthfully, it's easily the number one defense as far as just a roster perspective goes. Especially when you consider in all the players that we're going to be getting back from injury. It's going to be hard to find a roster that's better than the Chicago Bears in that regard. We're going to have to see if we can actually see it come to fruition, but it's not unrealistic to view that this team has the best defense in the NFL in 2020. So my final prediction, which, I don't think it's that bold of a prediction because I think, Bears fans have been waiting for it for a while, but Khalil Mack finishes the year with over 17 sacks and wins Defensive Player of the Year.
Damn, that would be quite a good sack number for him because I think, what is his career high? Is it 14 or 15?
I think it's like 14 or 15.
Yeah, one of those two. So, I mean, obviously that would be 17 would be a very significant number for him. But, with Khalil Mack, I mean, come on, you cannot, you could almost throw any number out there.
It's the best team he's been on.
Yeah, within reasonable.
It's the best roster.
Anything within reasonable range of I don't know. Up to 20-some sacks. I mean, it would be reasonable to say that Khalil Mack could achieve. He's going to garner a lot of attention for sure, but, with the addition of
That's the difficulty.
What's up? What was that?
That's the additional difficulty with Khalil Mack is because he changes how offenses perform more than any other defensive player in the league.
Yeah.
So it becomes that much harder for him to reach actual sack totals. So, 17 sacks. That's why I didn't go out and say some crazy, ridiculous number like Aaron Donald's number, because Aaron Donald, teams don't adjust as much to Aaron Donald. They don't adjust their offense as much around Aaron Donald. He obviously gets more of the flashy numbers and, has some really nice highlights. But Khalil Mack, no team adjusts more for a player than Khalil Mack.
Yeah, Aaron Donald is an absolute beast of a player, but Khalil Mack is a little bit different quality of force, at least in my opinion. Everyone's entitled to their own. But yeah, I think, anything could really happen, especially with the addition of Robert Quinn. I think we anticipate that will at least take some of the pressure off of Mack sometimes. It's going to give him a little bit more free range. And, man, Khalil Mack with, some free space in front of him, not getting double teamed is a scary sight. So, yeah, I could really see, Khalil Mack getting back into that, 2018 form, even though not even saying that last year was a bad year for him at all. Just a lot of what he did didn't translate onto the stat line. But yeah, I would not be shocked if we saw him get into those upper teens for sacks.
Hey guys, like our video, subscribe, and check out our bi-weekly podcast on Apple Podcasts. Thanks.